with basically 2 out of 4 attacking third passes that were successful. So both the attempts are terrible, and just the success rate is not good. And Nico Müller went 3 out of 6. Just for comparison, somebody like Genki Haraguchi went 11 of 14. So I mean that's just dismal. If you look at the passing maps, you'll actually see that there's no passes between left back Matthias Osterzolek and Filip Kostic for the entire game, and Kostic has only received more than 3 passes from Bobby Wood and Mikhail Grigoric, I'd say. Completely isolated on the left wing. Nico Müller did get a few. He did link up with Gotoku Sakai, but again, Hamburg too often relied on Mikhail Grigoric kind of winning the aerial long balls that were booted up by the goalkeeper. That was actually their number 1 passing move, which is just horrendous. I mean, Leverkusen are a tough side, but there's got to be something more than that. And I think there was the same thing against Ingolstadt as well. So, maybe the bonus question is, will Bruno Labbadia be the first coach fired before October? Because this is, I'm not really sure how long Hamburg are going to be able to last with this, given that they've got a brutal schedule. And we actually talked about this on the Talking Fußball podcast, where I was a guest this week. So you should go check that out with Matt Herman and Terry DeFellon. And I think that would be an interesting discussion as Hamburg have this really tough schedule. The other question for Leverkusen, which is, when is Roger Schmidt going to stop with the Hakan Calhanoglu as the furthest player up the pitch and Ahmed Mehmedi as in the starting lineup? Because neither of those things have worked out. He should just go ahead and start Julian Brandt and Joel Pohjanpalo, a.k.a. the new Chicharito. So Leverkusen have had injury troubles again, despite having one of the deepest squads, and everybody was raving about the acquisitions. And Kevin Folland broke his hand, Chicharito broke his hand. Then you had Karim Bellarabi get injured in I think 12 seconds into this game. Really, like, you couldn't make this stuff up if you tried, and that all led to kind of a hodgepodge game that they did deserve to win against Hamburg, but they left it really, really late. And despite some very, very solid build-up by Benny Henrichs and Van Wendell on the flanks, and once Julian Brandt came in, I mean, he changed the game completely. And Kevin Kumpel had an excellent game as well, but I think they still need to figure out Calhanoglu and Mehmedi, because I think neither of them do a great job of fitting into the passing attacks and the build-up, and they have really a lot of trouble getting shots on goal and getting accurate shots on goal, I should say. So we'll see how that goes. But Leverkusen are probably one of those teams that are, they just got 4 goals from Joel Pohjanpalo, a guy who had 2 goals last year in the second Bundesliga. So not sure how long that's going to last. Speaking of a coach that's doing some pressing and very similar to Roger Schmidt, Ralf Hasenhüttl. My question, this is number 6 here, is Ralf Hasenhüttl the coach of the year after he outcoached Thomas Tuchel in the RB Leipzig versus Borussia Dortmund matchup on Saturday in the Topspiel? Tuchel had the weird lineup changes with Piszczek coming on for Paslak and Gonzalo Castro starting over Dembele and getting Götze in as a number 10, and neither of them worked at all. I think Dortmund were rather dismal in their build-up. There's a very good article on Spielverlagerung by Tom Payne, who basically just talks about how there's this sort of 5-man press that completely engulfed poor Julian Weigl, and they had to drop Sebastian Rode as like a third center back to try to beat the press, and Dortmund just wasn't able to, and their passing map is just basically Bartra to Socrates to Rode to Schmelzer to Piszczek, and completely ineffective. There's no link-up play to Gonzalo Castro. There's no link-up play to Mario Götze. And, Andre Schürrle is probably the best at getting involved in this, but Dortmund are in a little bit of trouble because I think this might be the blueprint against them for smaller side is, have everybody drop back. Timo Werner, Yusuf Poulsen both drop back and pressured, and with Diego Demme, Marcel Sabitzer, and Dominic Kaiser, that five of them just pressured Dortmund, and Dortmund just completely lacked players with any press resistance. This is where Ilkay Gündogan or Henrik Mkhitaryan were really excellent last year, and I don't know how this is going to work out because they don't really have those kind of players this year unless they try to maybe introduce someone like Christian Pulisic or the verticality in terms of dribbling of Ousmane Dembele. But this was a game plan that I think Tuchel got completely wrong, and he deserves some of the blame. But let's give some credit to Hasenhüttl, who had similar ideas and executed them brilliantly last season with Ingolstadt, where I think he kept a side that had very, very little Bundesliga talent in the top half, and I think ended up finishing 10th or 11th. And I think now it's kind of like he upgraded, to from sort of a weak Formula One car to like Red Bull, somebody who is now enjoying that he's got better players, he's got younger players, he's got players that have more agility and more individual talent, and fit his system really well. And last but not least, he made two great changes in the end by bringing in Oliver Burke and Naby Keita, who combined for the game-winning goal. So I think right now he's the coach of the year for me. So question number 7, which is, do Wolfsburg or Köln both have sneaky good defenses? And the reason why I want to talk about this game that even though it ended up being a goalless draw, it was one of the better goalless draws I've seen, especially when it comes to young goalkeepers. So we should mention Köln Castells, who I put in my Bundesliga Matchday 2 Team of the Week, which you can check out at Bundesliga Fanatic. And Köln Castells is a giant Belgian who started some games last year after Diego Benalio got hurt for Wolfsburg. And he made 9 saves in this game, including 2 or 3 point-blank saves to deny Köln, including one on Anthony Modeste as well. And for Wolfsburg, the defense was a really big problem last year with Dante and Naldo having moved on now, and they've got Jakub Blaszczykowski at right back, and he's filled in admirably. And the center of the defense is actually quite good with Jeffrey Bruma, who came over from PSV, and then Robin Knoche, and they limited Köln to an expected goal of 1 with tons of shots from so about 8 or 9 shots outside the box, and another 2 or 3 that sort of edges of the box, and really only had that one big chance that Castells saved. So look, kind of impressed with the Wolfsburg defense. And Köln, I think I've always had a pretty decent defense thanks to their depth, with guys like Mergin Mavrai and Dominic Heinz and Jonas Hector, Marcel Risse, and then Sorensen as well. So I think that's good. And then they should sort of talk about their third choice goalkeeper, who Sven Müller was excellent after Timo Horn and Kessler, the first 2 choice goalkeepers, are both injured, and he made 4 saves, including a couple of really nice ones after some wonderful play by Julian Draxler, who had 5 dribbles and 6 key passes in the game and deserves some praise as well. So that was the question number 6, and let's move on to the next question, the next game, which is question number 8, I should say, is, are Hertha going to keep winning games with below 10 shots per match? And as an addendum to that, is Genki Haraguchi going to be the breakout player of the season for Hertha? So Hertha beat Ingolstadt 2-0 thanks to 2 assists by Genki Haraguchi, their Japanese playmaker, who's had an excellent season so far. He's like I mentioned before, he's had 14 attempted attacking third passes, and 11 of them were successful. And was really a terror against Ingolstadt and played in Vedad Ibišević for the opening goal. Where it was a weird match where Ingolstadt had 59% of the ball, and they had doubled the attacking third passes, 203 to 119. They had 12 shots to 7, so they were really the dominant side. But and the expected goals were 0.5 each. But Hertha came away with 2 chances, and Julian Schieber finished the second one, and he's got now back-to-back goals after missing over a year with a knee injury. Genki Haraguchi, again, was the key player with Ibišević. And I should also give some praise to Vladimir Derrida, who led the Bundesliga in distance covered with 12.8 kilometers. And John Brooks also deserves to be noted for his excellent defense, and he's really developed into one of the better defenders in the Bundesliga. Ingolstadt were interesting. They dominated in most assets of the game, but they really struggled with the attacking third passes in terms of accuracy. And you really saw the good and bad of Pascal Gross, who was very, very active, got involved in a ton of passing, but his final balls were really dismal, even though he did create 3 or 4 chances. The stat that I have for you is that he and the right back, Tobias Levels, who were 4 for 19 on crosses in terms of accuracy. So that's not great, obviously. And really interesting thing is with the wing play for Ingolstadt, which is, Gross is sort of the nominal right midfielder, and then he has sort of Matthew Leckie on the other side, who leads the league in dribbles, both total dribbles and successful dribbles. He's got 15 total dribbles and 11 of them are successful, but he tends to still lose the ball mostly because he's not a great passer. But he's had 2 excellent games in terms of winning the ball back and just kind of being a pest with his speed. Someone who's not had a great season so far and not a great one last year is Dario Lescano, who's the Paraguayan forward for Ingolstadt, who kept getting these balls played to him on the right wing for some weird reason, because he's the center forward, and he lost the ball 9 times in 59 minutes and was understandably substituted. So Ingolstadt continued this thing where they just have really difficulty scoring in sort of the Hinrunde, as they manage just 11. And I should also single out Alfredo Morales, the American, who is a nominal sort of left midfielder, but he is completely ineffective going forward, and then is anonymous on defense, and was one of the worst rated Bundesliga midfielders last year. And then he lost his starting job to Max Christensen, but apparently under new coach Markus Kauczynski, he still gets starts, which I don't really understand why. So that's enough Ingolstadt talk. Let's do last 2 questions, which is number 9 in the order, which is, are Werder Bremen dead and buried? And does Viktor Skripnik need to get fired? So Werder had another disappointing match at home to Augsburg, who are pretty good on the road. They did have Serge Gnabry, the Olympics star, finally make his debut after some transfer turmoil and saga that he arrived at Werder, and he was okay, probably average in terms of overall effectiveness. But Werder once again struggled in the build-up, where they were completely ineffective on the left wing, where there was no width to their attack, and although the middle was pretty decent with Clemens Fritz getting the ball to Zlatko Junuzovic, who distributed it pretty well to Finn Bartels and Gnabry, but Aaron Johansson didn't get too involved, and they still they did have 10 shots and the expected goals of 1.84, so you could say they're a little bit unlucky, and they did get 6 shots inside the box and just 4 outside. But I think overall the bigger problem is still their defense, where they allowed 18 shots to Augsburg, and Augsburg did their traditional 10 shots outside the box thing, but they did get 2 or 3 really good chances, especially thanks to Daniel Bayer, who I got in my team of the week, who had